Today we're going to talk about ecological succession and how land can go from nothing, like bare ground, bare rock, to something with lots of life. There are two different kinds of succession. Primary succession starts with nothing but rocks and nothing else. Secondary succession has to come after something else. It's secondary. It might come after a huge forest fire. It's going to leave soil behind. So that is what makes it secondary. Now, when does primary succession occur? If secondary comes after a forest fire or something where the land is cleared, then how on earth does primary succession occur? How about after a huge volcano? Mount St. Helens in Washington, when it blew up the entire top, and it roasted everything. And there was nothing left, nothing at all but ash and strewn rock. And then there's an island in the middle of the North Sea, I guess, off of Iceland, and it's called Surtsey. And that island was just created from an underwater volcano, and it started as nothing but bare rock. So scientists are studying it now, and have been for years, watching how the primary succession occurs. So, how do you start over from nothing? Well, first, it's all rock. Plants can't grow on rocks. So you need to have some erosion of those rocks into smaller pieces, deposition of those bits of pieces and things building up, and maybe some weathering of those rocks that causes it also to break down into smaller bits and pieces. Now those first plants, just like the first people to get to a new place, those first plants are called pioneers. Some pioneers come from the remaining plants that were there in the first place. For example, the lodgepole pine, which is in many of our big northwestern forests, it only has the ability to create seeds after an exposure to an extreme amount of heat. So what happens is it has special pine cones, and when there's a lot of heat, those pine cones will fall and open and deposit their seeds. So the lodgepole is really smart. When the other plants have all been wiped out, it's there and ready to repopulate. That would be a type of secondary succession. Now here's a really great example of how succession occurs. What you'll see is that first you'll have some annual small plants come in, and they kind of solidify the soil, and they can get some new nutrients back into the soil. You have nitrogen-fixing plants that put nitrogen back in, which is a fertilizer, and it allows other plants to grow. Then the perennials will start to come in with the plants and grasses and shrubs, and you notice things are getting bigger and bigger. Eventually you get to the point where you have big hardwood trees, like maybe a redwood tree, and those are considered to be a climax community. Basically, it's an old-growth forest. Everything is as big as it's going to get, and you're not going to have stuff replacing other things. And that would be considered your old-growth forest and the climax community. That concludes our session on ecological succession, and I hope you're looking forward to our classroom activities.